Welcome to Quiz Time. I'm your quiz master, Sean, and I've got 100 questions for you. We're going grammar, synonyms. Let's see how well we know our language, shall we? And have a little fun while we're at it. All right, let's get this party started, shall we? Another word for escape is it abscond, abhor, or accost? Which of those means the same as escape? Another word for escape is abscond. Which word is closest to acumen? Eagerness, astuteness, or crave? The word closest to acumen. And that word would be astuteness. Another way to say dismantle is difficulty, destroy, or engaging. Which one of those is another way to say dismantle? And that would be destroy. Her mind is an enigma. What other word could be used instead of enigma? Stubborn, puzzling, or creative? Her mind is an enigma. It means puzzling. Puzzling could be another word for that. Another word for foresight is it predict, hindsight, or happenstance? Another word for foresight is predict. A synonym for movement is stationary, placid, or is the word kinesis? Another word, a synonym for movement. That would be kinesis. The concert was pure pandemonium. This means the concert was it terrible? Was it peaceful? Or was it chaos? It was pure pandemonium. You could also say it was pure chaos too. What is another way to say you're going to reprimand someone? You're going to admonish them, you're going to adhere to someone, or you're going to be amicable with someone. Well, another word you might use would be admonish. You can use that word. To invalidate something, you can also say you have to nullify it, blandish it, or corroborate it. Well, if you're going to invalidate something, you might also be nullifying it as well. Something outdated might be called debonair, natty, or obsolete. If it's outdated, what might it also be? It would be obsolete if it's outdated. The opposite of baffle would be bewilder, perplex, or comprehensible. The opposite of baffle, that would be comprehensible. That's the opposite of baffle. What is another way to say someone is stubborn? They're adamant, they're ambivalent, or they're equivocal. If someone is stubborn, what word might we also use? Adamant. We could use adamant. If something will hinder you, this means it will be amplify, difficult, or abet. What could we use in place of hinder? Well, you could say it's difficult. An ornate home means it must be, is it a decorated home, a plain home, or a massive home if it's ornate? If it's ornate, it is decorated. Giving adulation means you are giving. Are you giving retribution? Are you giving punishment? Or are you offering up praise? If you're giving adulation, you're giving praise. Another way to say you respect someone would be you deplore them, you execrate them, or you venerate them. If you respect someone, you might also venerate them. Another way to say trick is fervent, or is it ardent, or is it connive? Which one of those words is synonymous with trick? If you're tricking them, you're conniving. If you will expunge, this means you will clean it, erase it, or expel something. You expunge something. That means you are erasing it. His vitriolic response seemed unnecessary. This means the response was it enthusiastic? Was it harsh? Or was it urgent? That means it was harsh. To bolster means to support something, to argue against something, or to insist upon something. If you're bolstering it, if you bolster it, that means you support it. If something is paramount, it is mountainous, or perhaps it's superior, or maybe it's hopeless. If it is paramount, it is superior. If a person is friendly, this means does that mean they're comely, impudent, or genial? Which one of those three words means friendly? Genial. Genial means friendly. I was used to such a mundane routine. This means routine was it a dynamic routine, an unusual routine, or was it a dull routine? If it was mundane, it was dull. The opposite of diabolical is angelic, fiendish, or devilish. Which one is the opposite of diabolical? Well, the one that's opposite is angelic. If you're angelic, you're not diabolical. True or false? Jabber and babble can be used interchangeably. Can jabber and babble be used interchangeably? Yeah, you could do that. True. A synonym for luminary is a plebe, a lust, or an inspiration. A luminary. Well, a synonym for luminary would be an inspiration. A person who is barbaric may also be called a peasant, a savage, or a historian. A person who is barbaric may also be called savage. The pinnacle point could also be called the peak, the nadir, or the shallow. The pinnacle point. The pinnacle point could also be called the peak. If something is squalid, it is new, squeamish, or run down. If it is squalid. If it's squalid, it is run down. Another way to say antithesis is it's the opposite, or is it the outcome, or is it an essayist? Another way to say antithesis. You could say it is the opposite. A contagion can also be called you call it a contaminant, a gossip, or a creature, if it's a contagion. It would be a contaminant. A wealthy person may also be called affluent, frosted, or maybe Germsville, if they're wealthy. Well, if they're wealthy, they could also be called affluent. Another way to say trite is, if it's trite, is it outrageous or trivial, or is something trite ordinary? Which one of those is synonymous? Ordinary. If it's trite, it's ordinary. If a person is economical with their money, you may call them improvident, or maybe you'd call them a spendthrift, or maybe they're frugal. They're economical with their money. They are frugal. True or false? Synonyms for the word malleable include workable and pliable. Is that true or is that false? And that is true. Swagger is another word for, does swagger mean torment or boast or diffidence? Which one of those is another word for swagger? Boast is another word for swagger. A travesty may also be called, would you call it a misrepresentation, a solemnity, or adoration? If it's a travesty, what might it also be called? A misrepresentation. Choose the word closest to intrepid, absurd, fearless, or tragedy. If something is intrepid, or someone is intrepid, that means it's absurd. A synonym for utilitarian is it functional, frivolous, or does it mean supervise? If it is utilitarian, that means it is functional. Another way to say decree is educate, or declare, or shield. Which of those three is a synonym? Means the same thing as decree. Declare. Declare means the same thing as decree. To have scrupulous attention to detail, this means nonchalant, reckless, or careful. Scrupulous. What does that mean? Of our three choices, careful would be the synonym for scrupulous. The opposite of defunct is it distinct, thriving, or extinct? The opposite of defunct. The opposite of defunct is thriving. That's the opposite. What is most similar in meaning to conundrum? To simplify, a solution, or a problem? Which one is similar to conundrum? And that would be a problem. A problem is a conundrum. Satiated is another way to say satisfied, or perhaps exhausted, or maybe something is difficult if it's satiated. Which one is a synonym for satiated? And that would be satisfied. To emulate someone, are you going to scold them? If you're emulating them, are you imitating them? Or if you're emulating them, are you retaliating against them? Which is the same as emulate? Emulate means to imitate. If a person is munificent, this means they are they giving? Are they evil? Or are they inventive if they're munificent? Giving. A munificent person is a giving person. Another way to say discomfite is embarrass, disjoint, or to distort. Another way to say discomfit, I believe. Another way to say discomfit. Embarrass. That's what you're doing. A hasty response may also be called deliberate, or perhaps cursory, or perhaps gradual means the same thing. If it's a hasty response, it is a cursory response. Which word could be used in place of beguile? Dumbfound, bewilder, or charm? You could use the word charm in place of beguile. What is a synonym for the word myrmidon? Myrmidonal. Leader, supernatural, or follower? Myrmidon. Follower is a myrmidon. Another way to say abet is it aid, corrupt, or lawless? Which of those three is synonymous with abet? And that would be aid. A synonym for tirade is criticize, a monsoon, or an apology, which is the same as tirade. Criticize is synonymous with tirade. To be candid with someone means are you being considerate if you're candid, deceitful if you're candid, or blunt if you're candid with someone? If you're being candid, you're being blunt. Another word for turpitude is it turmoil, wrongdoing, or frenzy? Which one is synonymous with turpitude? That would be wrongdoing. What is the opposite of idle? Inactive, mobile, or inert? opposite of idle is mobile or mobile. What is a synonym for havoc, destruction, peace, or sanity? A synonym for havoc is destruction. That's the same as havoc. What is another way to say unfavorable? Something's advantageous, it's adverse, or propitious. If it is unfavorable, you could also say it's adverse. Truculent is another way to say transparent, hostile, or enduring. If it's truculent, it is hostile. If a person is characterized as surly, they might also be called, would you call them unfriendly, strong, or goofy? If they're surly, they would be unfriendly. What is another word for abhor? Hate, admire, or concern? What is another word for abhor? And that would be hate. Hate means the same thing as abhor. What is a synonym for the word potable? Drinkable, movable, or stagnant? A synonym for the word potable. That would be drinkable. If it's potable. A person who is vindictive could also be referred to as, are they lenient, merciless, or revengeful? If they're vindictive, they would be revengeful. What does it mean to be a denizen? An inhabitant, an illiterate, or a mourner? If you're a denizen, that would be an inhabitant. If you're a denizen, you're an inhabitant. Which of the following words is closest to teeming? Cooperative, aggravating, or abundant? Closest to the word teeming is abundant. Another word for disparage is it belittle, demolish, or falsify? Which one means the same as disparage? That would be to belittle is to disparage. Which word is closest to neophyte? Futuristic, novice, or liberal? Which is a synonym of neophyte? And that would be a novice. A novice is a neophyte. What is an antonym for the word abate? Lessen, escalate, or subside? What is the opposite of abate? And that word is escalate. What is another way to say harmful? Providential, auspicious, or deleterious? Another way to say harmful would be deleterious. A synonym for prerogative is gracious, opportunity, or privilege. Prerogative and privilege mean the same thing. Synonyms. What is another way to say premonition? Presentiment, halcyon, or bucolic? Which one of those is a synonym for premonition? And the word you're looking for is presentiment. If something is superficial, it might also be called, is it equivocal, tangential, or nonplussed? If it is superficial, which one means the same thing? Tangential means the same as superficial. Another way to say panacea is a cure, utopia, or terminal. If it's a panacea, it is a cure. What is a synonym for foment? To disquiet, to seethe, or to instigate? A synonym for foment is instigate. What is the opposite of enact? Rescind, effectuate, or protuberance? What is the opposite of enact? The opposite of enact is rescind. A pariah might also be called is a pariah an imposter, an outcast, or a conciliator? Which one is a pariah? A pariah is an outcast. Which of the below is a synonym for pother? Commotion, brouhaha, or both of the above? Which is true about pother? Both of them are true about pother. What is another word that means critical? Affable, censorious, or amiable? And the word is censorious. Which of the following is the closest to the word powerful? Enervated, puissant, or feeble? Which is the closest to the meaning of the word powerful? The word is puissant. Which of the following below is another way to say ridicule? To pillory something, to plaudit someone, or to lionize someone? Another way to say ridicule would be to pillory. Hubris is a synonym for the word coveted, precious, or pride. What does hubris most resemble? And that word is pride. A social gaffe means a gathering, a blunder, or an extrovert. If it's a social gaffe, that means tis a blunder. The closest word to conciliate is it instigate, appease, or conceal? The closest word here to conciliate, that would be appease. What is the opposite of bane? Benefit, tournament, or ruin? Opposite of bane. That would be benefit. Benefit is the opposite of bane. Construe is another way to say interpret or register or confuse. Which one is synonymous with construe? That would be interpret. What is a synonym for the word cupidity? Greed, lovesick, or creative? A synonym for the word cupidity is greed. Something that is debauched may also be referred to as, is it corrupt, botched, or persuaded? If something is debauched, it is also corrupt. It's corrupt. Another way to say stern is it dour, exuberant, or blithe, if it's the same word as stern. Dour. Dour is the same thing as stern. Which of the following is another word for stubborn? Obdurate, amenable, or tractable? Another word for stubborn is obdurate. Which word means you have a predilection for something? Conceive, premonition, or fondness? If you have a predilection for something, you have a fondness for something. Which is a synonym for the word onerous? Honorable, ownership, or burdensome? Which one is synonymous with onerous? Burdensome. Burdensome is the same as onerous. What is another way to say cowardly? Staunch, hoitif, or perfid? A synonym for the word cowardly. That would be caitiff. That's the same as cowardly. Caitiff. True or false? Synonyms for the verb belie include authentic and genuine. Is that true or is that false? And that is false. A synonym for the word bell is misrepresent. Untoward is another way to say shy, unexpected, or slow. Another word for untoward, that would be unexpected. Which of the following is the closest word to presage? Influence, foreshadow, or impress? And that word would be foreshadow. Which of the following is the opposite of the word pulchritude? Beauty, ugly, or disappear? And that would be ugly. Which word is a synonym for headquarters? Meager, copious, or galore? Excuse me. What is a synonym for inadequate? Meager, copious, or galore? If it's inadequate, it's meager. What is another way to say brief? Loquacious, verbose or laconic. Another way to say brief would be to say laconic. Which word also means multifarious, creative, variety, or talented. If it means multifarious, it is also variety. The lowest may also be called the apogee, zenith, or nadir, if it's the lowest. That would be the nadir. And now question 100. Which of the following words is another way to say exclusion? Circumscribe, ostracism, or environ? Exclusion. Opposite of exclusion is, not the opposite, another way to say exclusion is ostracism. And that's all I got for you today. Thanks for playing. Drop your score in the comments, please. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. This has been Quiz Time. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.